So we're going to pretend for a moment that I am not the guy who just posted a video about plan my Thanksgiving dinner with me using cookbooks, hashtag nonfiction November. Because the words, the holidays are really close, are coming out of my mouth. I know they're close. And I knew that as a person who's trying to do things on YouTube, but did not know that as a knitter. Like, I lost the plot line as a knitter. And so I'm at that point where I still want to get as much stuff knit for the holiday season, for the ones that I love as possible. But time is running short. So I'm at this point where I've started a bunch of projects and now I just need to work really diligently on finishing them. And if there's opportunities to multitask, I need to take advantage of those. So Mark over at Book Ramble tagged me, and I'm going to use this time to not only respond to his tag, because he is a delightful man, but I am also going to knit while I'm doing it. I like to think of this as a sit and knit and sip and chat, and I want them to rhyme, but I can't figure out how to get them to rhyme because I'm stressing out about how much stuff I have to knit. So this is where we're at. So I am Nick. This is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, but I also knit. And we're going to tackle the I Dare You book tag. So Mark over at Book Ramble, like I said, tagged me in this book tag, and it's 20 questions, which feels like a lot. So we're going to see how this goes. How much of this scarf can I knit in these 20 questions? That is the question. We're going to see how this works. I've had a chance to look at them. I saw the question about, like, what are you reading now? And was like, what am I reading now? Only because I just started new books, and so I'm not fully in them yet, and so titles were going to be tricky. But let's see if we can knock some of this out, shall we? Why is that so far away? What book has been on your shelf the longest? I actually made a short about this. I have a series over on Shorts called Shelfie Secrets. I only do 1 or 2 a month, so it's not... I have like 2 right now. But the book that has been on my shelves the longest is a book called The Velveteen Father by Jesse Green. He is, I believe, the New York Times theater critic right now. And it recounts how, as a young gay man, he decided not to have children and then proceeded to fall in love with a man who had just adopted a baby, and how that required him to completely revision his life. It was a gift from a professor that I worked with when I was at Michigan State University, and felt just so authentic, and I felt so seen, because at that point I was very much in the camp of, oh my gosh, I want kids, I want the family thing, and look at me now, single and knitting and talking to a camera. But it's a good life. I like my life. But one of the reasons that I've held on to it was such a surprise when she gifted that book to me. I've held on to it for the emotional density of that moment of feeling seen, and it's all manifest in that book. It also was a really enjoyable book. So, Velveteen Father, Jesse Green, totally enjoyable. Also, Dr. Howman, thank you. What is your current read, last read, and the book you'll read next? Okay, this I wanted to go get my stack. Because remember, I am not a book monogamist. I've got several going on at one time. My bus book is The Denial of Death, Ernest Becker. I'm trying to work my way through my November TBR. This is on there. I have a project that I want to get started or restarted, and I think he's going to help me think some of that through. I also get really interesting looks on the bus when I'm reading this. It's only been like 2 days, but super entertaining. My enjoyable book is Kate Atkinson's newest book, Death at the Sign of the Rook. Jackson Brody mystery. I am super excited to see him back. I'm hoping it's not as heavy as Big Sky was. Big Sky was very heavy in an enjoyable way. I just don't know that I can handle that kind of heavy right now. But so far, it's been super enjoyable. I love Kate Atkinson's work, so I'm excited to see where she takes Jackson next. And then Anne Ursu, Not Quite a Ghost. This is a middle grades novel that I was hoping to get into rotation for spooky season, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. The library waitlist on this was long, and I just now got it. So I've been working through it. I may do a 1-minute review for my shorts later, because it's really good. I really like Anne Ursu. She does a really lovely job of taking these kind of fairy tale elements and making them new and interesting. This isn't necessarily as fairy tale inspired as like the Girls of Dragomir Academy or Breadcrumbs, but I just love how she pulls together a story immensely. Books that I just finished are the 100 Choices Department Store, which is another middle grades novel that talks about what was happening in Korea at the end of World War II, which I find fascinating. I find it fascinating that we're now getting those stories into middle grades, and I'm here for it. I really enjoyed it. I also finished The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop, which I am here for a good celebrity biography. Not anything flashy, but competent, well-written. Literary? No. But it was enjoyable. It was entertaining. I was already invested in her as an actress, and being able to learn more about her was just delightful. So look for that 1-minute review coming up. And then I continue to try to work through my November TBR. This is Empty Mansions. This will be my next book once I finish probably Death at the Sign of the Rook. And I am super excited about this book. I finally found it at a Half Price Books in Omaha. It's been on my list for a while, but I could never ever find it used. Never could find it used. So that's question number 2. Question number 3. Which book did everyone like, but you hated? Okay, let's go on a limb here. Verity by Colleen Hoover. I DNF'd that thing. I could not finish it, and I very rarely DNF a book. Very rarely DNF a book. But I had been told, specifically by my undergrads, by my students, that I needed to read it, that it was great. And I can see the appeal, maybe, if I were, a 20-something undergraduate. But it just was not cutting it for me. And I DNF'd it and sold it back to the used bookstore because I was not enjoying that book. I was not enjoying that book at all. At all. So, possibly a hot take, but I haven't actually been intrigued by any Colleen Hoover books. So maybe that's just, I've never felt like I needed to read her. And that was just, evidence. Question number 4. What book do you keep telling yourself you'll read, but you probably won't? Oh. This is an interesting question. I tend not... if I say I'm going to read something, I tend to read it. It might take me a while to get my hands on a copy, whether that's from the library or from a used bookstore. But I typically will, once I put my mind to something, read it. Have I read War and Peace? No, but could I? Yes. I would figure out how to make that happen. I haven't quite found the time to invest in that yet, but it could happen one of these days. So I don't know that I have a specific book that I keep telling myself that I'll read, but I probably won't. Yeah. If I tell myself I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna read it. While my home TBR is, I think I'm at 47 books right now. Like, I tend to move through them in about a year. So every year I get about 100% turnover. So, I don't know if that's connected to that question or not. Just facts. Which book are you saving for retirement? None of them? None. Why? I save money for retirement. I don't save books for retirement. I read books now. Because, we're hoping that we get a retirement. Look, the genetics. I'm a little worried. It's going to be fine. This is why we run. So that we have a retirement. So I don't save really any books for retirement. It's not like I will save books for like winter break. So winter break's coming up. I've already got a list that I would like to partake in for winter break. Super excited about it. But for retirement, nope. I'm going to read it now. That's how that's working. Number 6, last page, read it first. How did I miss this question when I was looking these over? Last page, read it first or wait till the end. Wait till the end. Okay, so picture it. 6th grade Nicholas, and I'm on the bus, and I'm reading The Witch of Blackbird Pond. Elizabeth Spear? Ooh, I don't remember. I don't think that doesn't sound right. But Witch of Blackbird Pond, and I make the stupid decision to go read the ending first. Not actually first. I think I was in the middle of the book, and I was like, I'm just gonna see what happens, and the sense of just disappointment. Not in the book, but in myself, because I cheated myself out of that build-up, was just sad. So, I've never quite recovered from that, and I don't read the last page anymore. I like the build-up. That's where we're at. So, no reading it first. Wait until the end. Waiting for the payoff. That's what we like. We like the payoff. Acknowledgments. Number 7. Waste of paper and ink or interesting aside. Oh, totally interesting aside. And kind of fascinating when you trace and track acknowledgments across books by the same author, when the same names appear and or change and or disappear and then reappear, and it just gives you such delicious fodder for thinking about what is happening with that writer and all of the things that are impacting that book. So I don't know what that says about me, but totally interesting asides. Number 8. Which book character would you like to switch places with? Oh, Willy Wonka. Yeah. Can I be Willy Wonka? I don't know that there's any, bumpers on this question. I'm gonna be Willy Wonka. Like, having a bomb diggity candy factory and being able to like kind of do whatever the heck you want is just sounds delightful. Also, the ability to like help out, although I'd probably want to think through a little bit more of an equitable, way to go about that. But if I had the resources, then I could actually do it. So yes, Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka. I want to be the Willy Wonka. Yep. I'll do that. Okay. 9. Do you have a book that reminds you of something specific in your life, like a place, a time, or a person? Oh, yes. Okay. Time Traveler's Wife, Audrey Niffenegger. It was when it first came out and everyone was reading it. So probably really early 2000s, 2002, 2003 maybe. Probably 2002. I had just finished student teaching and I was with my aunt and my uncle at their lake house in an Adirondack chair on a hill overlooking the lake, finishing that book. And it was one of those moments where just you romanticize your own life. Like, my life was so good. My life was, everyone was like, oh, you're graduated, you're just getting started, it's all ahead of you. And you felt that potential, but the potential that I was feeling at that moment was, oh my gosh, I'm gonna, like, this is life. I'm going to be reading books and doing fun things for the rest of my life. And it hasn't turned out the way that I thought it would sitting there. But I distinctly remember finishing that book and going, that was delightful and there will be more. And my life is starting and that feels weird. And it was just a lovely moment. So, yeah. Okay, number 10. Name a book you acquired in an interesting way. Ooh. Name a book I've acquired. Oh, same summer. Okay, I got a story for this. Same summer. Picture it. I'm at the DMV, the Secretary of State in Michigan, getting my driver's license renewed. And there is a gentleman across from me who is just being told that he doesn't have enough to add his, I think it was his motorcycle endorsement onto his driver's license. It was an extra $2 and he just didn't have it. And so I gave him the $2 because I had it and it felt like such a small thing at that point in time that this guy wouldn't be able to get his motorcycle endorsement. I messed this up. His motorcycle endorsement for $2. Like, buddy, I gotcha. And then he had this bag of books with him that he was going to go sell at one of the used bookstores in East Lansing. And he was like, well, just take a book. What book do you want? And The Secret Life of Bees was on the top. And it was a popular title at the time. It had been out for a while, if I remember correctly. But people were still talking about it. And so that's the one that I picked. And I read it, and it was great. And it cost me $2 at the Secretary of State office in East Lansing, Michigan. Good story. Or not. So, have you ever given a book away for a special reason to a special person? Yeah. I mean, I think every book that I give away to like if I've purchased you a book as a gift, there's a particular reason why I'm giving that to you. There's something that I think you'll connect to in that book. But have I ever... I feel like the answer to this question once is, oh my gosh, this one time when I was dating this one person, I gave them this one book and was like, everything you need to know about me is between these covers. That's never happened. That's never happened to me. That's never happened to me. I don't even know what that book would be, quite honestly. Uh, but I have, when I give you a book as a gift, it tends to be because something about it makes me think of you and I think that you'll like it. But I've never done like the grand gesture of it. I once did send my stepdad a box of books that were my favorites that helped define me, and I always wondered what he thought about them, if he's ever read them. I have another box of books I need to send him as well. Okay. 11. Have you ever... Oh, nope. 12. Which book has been with you the most places? So I'm going to revisit number 1. The Velveteen Father has been with me the most places. That's the book that has survived all of my travels. It predates... The second place would be probably Naked by David Sedaris, because it's signed. And that one has also traveled with me in a lot of different places. I've lived a lot of different places since I was 21. So, yeah. Velveteen Father. Yeah, so same answer as number 1. Number 13. Any required reading you hated in high school that wasn't so bad 2 years later? No, because the required reading that we had in high school was still as bad 2 years later. For some reason, the English department decided to do John Grisham's The Pelican Brief. This must have been 98, 99, and they chose The Pelican Brief as their contemporary choice. Like, why The Pelican Brief? Why is that the John Grisham novel that we are reading? Probably the one that is the most boring. It just did not work well for me. It didn't help that I had already read it. Like, I had already gone through the John Grisham phase. My high school principal kept me in a steady diet of John Grisham, and I had already read it. So why was I reading it again? I didn't like it that much the first time. I think also one of the reasons why The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books is, one, because I am strangely comfortable with how like ridiculously silly all the characters are, but also because I never had to read it as required reading in high school. Never had to read it as required reading in high school. So I didn't have to analyze the green light, the end of the pier, for its symbolism. Like, that just was not a thing that happened. And I'm really actually pretty thankful for that, because I think I would hate it if I had to do that. If I had to, like, lay everything bare, I think that would drive me crazy. Used or brand new? Number 14. Ooh, I don't know that this is an or question. I don't think that this is an or question. I think it's and. Used and brand new. Here's how I approach my book purchases. Because I try to stay away from Amazon as much as I possibly can. Just because Jeff Bezos doesn't need any more of my money. I also try to not screw up the scarf. Where did I just screw up? Oh, that's where I screw up. Why do I keep doing that? This scarf will be easy. I can knit while I'm talking. Apparently not. I also want to be aware of the fact that I prefer physical books, not digital books. So I want to be aware of the ecological effects of that. And so used is kind of the way I go as much as I possibly can. I will keep a list of books on my phone that I'm looking for. Sometimes they're not available at the library, so that gives a little bit more pressure to it all to find them somewhere used. If there is a book that I am particularly looking forward to. So like the Kate Atkinson Death at the Sign of the Rook that just came out. I'll buy that new through my local independent bookstore. But books are expensive now. Oh my gosh, like $30. $30 for a book. Gah. So I can't do that as much as I would like to, but it does make me feel better that, I'm supporting the local independent. I will also occasionally find something at my local Barnes and Noble, which is, it's still a local bookstore. It's still a local bookstore. It's not independent, but it's a local bookstore. So I try to buy used as often as possible. I also try to use my library as much as possible. But there is something lovely about owning a book and knowing that if you lose it, no librarian's going to chase you down. So both used and brand new. Number 15, have I ever read a Dan Brown book? Yes. The answer is yes. This is probably 2004, 2003. Da Vinci Code. It was the book everyone was reading. And one of my friends on LiveJournal back in the day was like, hey, I just finished this. I know you like to read a lot. Are you interested? And she mailed it to me. And I don't remember a thing about it aside from the fact that, it got mailed to me by a friend from LiveJournal, which I thought was super entertaining. Have you ever seen a movie you liked better than the book? Number 16? 16. Devil Wears Prada. The book was entertaining. I read the book before I watched the movie. But Meryl Streep in that movie is just perfection. Absolute perfection. And yeah, I remember being entertained by the book, but I really enjoyed the movie. So, Devil Wears Prada, that's my choice for movie that I liked better than the book. That's it. Have you ever read a book that's made you hungry, cookbooks included? Yes. Yes. Every single pie book that I researched for that Thanksgiving video, all of those cookbooks that I researched for that Thanksgiving video just make you want to eat. It makes you want to block off a weekend and just cook. So yeah, totally. I am really excited to next weekend do my run through of Thanksgiving and actually put some of those recipes into practice. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, I've read a book that's made me hungry, cookbooks included. I still kind of want that triple layer pumpkin pie, and I might just make it for funsies, Who is the person whose book advice you'll always take? My friend Clara has really impeccable choice or impeccable taste in books. She gives me just the best books every Christmas. She introduced me to Hannah Coulter by Wendell Berry is one of my favorite books ever. And that came from her. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book. And so when she passes a book along and is like, this book is good, you need to read this book, I always listen to her advice. Always. So yeah, she has not steered me wrong yet. I think I've steered her wrong once or twice. She may not admit it. She's a very nice person. But she always gives great book recommendations. Number 19. Is there a book out of your comfort zone, e.g. out of your usual reading genre, that you ended up loving? Ooh. I don't. Okay, here's a take on this question, and I don't know if it's what the question wants, but it's what I'm giving it. So I teach children's literature every summer, and I organize it around genre, or organize a part of it around genre. And as part of the fantasy genre, we talk about how like horror novels, like ghost stories, monster stories, etc., were fantasy, were within that genre. And one of my students was like, well, hey, you don't have any of those books represented here. Do you read these yourself? Because I would share, at that point in time, I had Goodreads. I no longer have Goodreads. I have Storygraph. And they were like, you don't even read these yourselves. So, like, you're telling us that we should read widely and our students should read widely, but do you read these anymore? And The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones kind of pushed me back out into the world of horror books, and just, I adored that book. I really found it to be incredibly powerful, and for a book, where things are getting eviscerated, it was a really enjoyable read. So it got me back into scary books, got me back into spooky books. I don't read them all the time. I try to make sure I have one in rotation every once in a while, so that I am doing what I ask my students to do all the time. But yeah, I think that's the book that got me back into a genre that had fallen out of my wheelhouse. And then number 20, tag at least 4 people. I will do some research on who hasn't done this tag that is within my realm of influence. But if you're interested in doing this tag, feel free to do it. It's a fun tag, the I Dare You tag. Thanks again to Mark at Book Ramble for tagging me in this and giving me a chance to talk about some fun book things, as well as getting some scarf knitted. I mean, look at that. We made progress. There is progress happening here, people. Progress. Okay. Thank you so much again to Mark for tagging me. Thanks to you. Thanks to you for watching. I appreciate you. I hope life is good. I'll see you in the next one.